Welcome to the video where I will talk about the Chevrolet Camaro SS for the 2010 model, and we'll go through here how it's presented in the crew, and we'll talk about all the 5 different specs that are available for this model here in the game, and all the basically pluses, minuses, and so on, like all the problems that I encountered, and then generally I will wrap it up and say what exactly is my opinion on the car, how it is presented in the game overall, and just what I think about. Well, first of all, let's go inside the garage right now here and look at the car itself that we are going to be talking about. So that's our first look right now here at the 2010 Chevrolet Camaro SS. Here it is, and that's how it looks like. This is a full stock option, so there's no modifications have been done to it. This is just generally how it's supposed to look like. And you know what, let's get out and look at how it looks on the street. So let's do this. And I'm just gonna make sure, yep, no cursor. So this is how I'm gonna be showing the car from the outside, this kind of little films that the game provides, because when I drive the car, I drive it from this position here, because this is a convenient position for me to drive it from, because that's how I drive in real life. So it's easy for me to control the car this way. Alright, so what is there to mention about this car? Well, first thing is that it's one of the 4 starter cars that are available in the crew, so it's one of the 4 cars you get to choose to start off with, basically. Then after that you have to purchase the other 3. It's in the 2010 Camaro is the return of the Camaro after the 7-year hiatus in production. By the way, it's going to be going into hiatus again in 2025. The 2024 model is going to be the last one for now. They're not saying that they're going to completely discontinue the line, but you'll see, you know, when it's going to be brought back. So when it comes to this version, the 2010 Camaro, it's still a muscle car or a pony car, because Camaros were actually created pretty much to compete with Mustangs, and they did so pretty well, by the way. And well, when they were bringing back the 2010 Camaro, they decided to do some changes. They removed the rear axle, the live rear axle from it, and they put in the independent suspension there. And the idea was this now, in terms of marketing materials, that this is a muscle car that can take corners. Sadly, somebody forgot to send that memo to the car in the game, because taking corners is going to be a big problem for this car throughout the whole experience. Now, let's talk about the stats for this car. So it's 426 horsepower, we got 569 newton meters in torque. 569 newton meters in torque. It's a front engine car with a rear drive, and it weighs 1,755 kilograms. Its top speed is 250 kilometers an hour, and it goes from 0 to 100 in 4.7 seconds. Well, there you go. So let's see how it actually behaves on the road. To do this, we're just gonna drive around it for a bit, and I'm gonna show off immediately the whole, turning problem as soon as I can. Like, let's pick up a good, nice, straight down road or straight enough road, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. The good parts of the car, specifically the fact that it just picks up speed really well. Like, look at that. We got 6 gears on this car right now here, and we are just going ahead and going in and through all this, getting there, and now we're gonna come up to a turn, and there you see we are really drifting. This car is great if you want to complete drifting challenges. It's not so good if you are trying to do some kind of precise driving, because it does kind of drift too much a bit, right? And so this is going to be our problem here. And again, like as you saw, I just hit the side there. Again, taking turn, taking corner. Yes, I can, brake more and drop down gears more to make the drift more controllable, I would say. But this is a racing game that I'm playing, right? If I'm gonna be constantly going before the turns, I'm going to be dropping gears, dropping speed, well, I'm gonna get past, and then it's not gonna be much of an experience in terms of ability to. There we go. It's should have braking more here and drop the gear definitely. So, but generally this will be a problem. Like I said, in a racing game, I cannot constantly be reducing my speed, because I get past and then I will never be able to catch up. Especially with this car, as if it flies off, it sometimes has a hard time recovering. Well, again, depends on the modification, and it has 5 of them. So now that we have went through all this, and as you can see, when it's on the straightaway, it does really well. Like if all the races here were just straightaway races, there'll be no problems for me, right? Okay. So we're gonna slow down now, stop, and we're going to go back to the garage. We're going to go ahead and look at the next spec available for us. So we're going from the full stock to the spec cars, the ones that we actually tend to drive on the roads. We don't really drive the full stock cars in the crew. So here's the full stock that came back, and we're gonna switch it out for our first spec, which is a street spec. Here's how it looks like. When it comes to the visuals, it's a choice. So you do choose how you want the car to look like. There's a bunch of choices. This is how I chose to have it look like. And let's look at it on the street. I'm gonna move the cursor so it's easier to see the car. And here it is. We're getting out onto the street now. And this is how it looks like on the street. And the camera decided to bug out now. I was hoping that the camera will work, but no. Okay, so we fixed that. So here it is, the street spec. So basically the street spec is the first spec you get in this game, and I think it's there for a simple reason. It's supposed to be the spec that you drive generally in the towns, cities, on the roads. It can be driven on the grass, it can be driven on the trails. So it's generally supposed to be all kind of a round type of a car that you're generally gonna be using, rather than more specific specs that will be coming later on. That's what pretty much this street spec is. The problem is that it has inherited the issue with cornering from the full stock spec, and that's going to be a problem for us. So let's talk about the stats for this one, right? So we got 132 horsepower, we got 782 newton meters in torque, we got 1,484 kilograms in weight. And in-game stats for other things are like acceleration is 5,581, speed 4,246, grip is 2,857, and braking 6,724. So what all this in-game stats mean, not sure. The best way to do so, to understand them, is kind of look at the performance of the car in the game itself. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to drive it around in the game, and the best way for me to do so is to choose these missions that we have available to us. That's going to be kind of showing it off. I'm not going to complete the whole mission, it takes a bit too long, and the best way to complete is to drive really slow, and specifically in this car. But we'll be driving this one actually faster than that, and just to show it off how it performs at the higher speeds, because again, it's a racing game that we are playing, right? So here's a street spec, you can see it's appearing there. We're looking at it from the top. And we're going to go ahead and jump into it right now. And off we go. So, as you will notice immediately, like the full stock car, it really does really well in terms of picking up speed. And there now, on top left, you see indicator of how much damage the car has sustained. And now we're going to go ahead, make a turn, and you see there's a pretty little problem, right? Look at that, how much our drift we got just on that turn, right? This is a serious problem with this spec. So everything improved over the full stock car here, right? In terms of we pick up speed there, really well on the straights. Here it is, again, we're on the straight, we're picking up speed, no problems. But at the same time, this car also has improved its drift capacity a lot, and it's extremely annoying how much this car drifts in terms of again, because when I'm driving, I'm always feel that next turn that I'm gonna take will be the last turn because I'm gonna go fly off somewhere. Now the good thing about this car is that if you do fly off onto the grass, onto the dirt, you will kind of be able to recover yourself. That was a difficult turn because of all the traffic that was in front of me, right? So if you on the grass or on the dirt, you can recover pretty well because the street spec still able to kind of drive on that surfaces, so it's not like it's completely recoverable. You have to restart the race, but it does makes the races more difficult and more frustrating because you constantly fear that again you're gonna lose out because you have a problem with the fact that you just cannot take turns at proper, a good enough speed, and everybody else just passing you at that point. There you are, right? and we're just going ahead, get on the highway, and we're gonna go on the straight here, and this will be a good show of the power of the car here. We got same 6 gears as the full stock car has, and so we're gonna use all of them, I believe, here. And like I said, if here, sadly that was my mistake. So if all the races here were pretty much just going on the straight, we would have no issues whatsoever when it comes to driving this car and when we enjoy it. But you know, races do have turns, and we have quite a few of them. As a result, we are going to have problems with the fact that well, we are going to have problems with the fact that we can't take turns properly, because at the higher speeds we just completely fly off on any turn. Ooh, and again, I could have avoided that one. That was on me, my bad. Well, there you go. That's kind of what I have to say for the street spec, and the fact is that I did not enjoy driving it because of this. You know, just a fear of that the next turn is going to be my last one, and I have to kind of climb out of the bushes just to get back on the road. Alright, so let's drop down here, slow down, and let's move on to the next spec that's available for us in the game. To do so, we're going to abort this mission, first of all. And then we're going to go back to the garage. Here's our garage, here should be, and there we are. Okay, so we're gonna go back and you see the street spec coming back into the garage, and we're gonna switch it out for the next one that's available here. And the next spec is the dirt spec. Here it is, how it looks like. Again, visually it's our choice how we choose to make it look like visually. Overall, there's our choices that are provided, and let's look at it on the road now. So, here it is. We're gonna get out, and here's our dirt spec. Right now, let's see, the camera bugged out again. Okay, well, we're gonna fix that quickly. Alright, so the dirt spec here, it could be also described as a rally spec, is specifically designed to go on trails, on the dirt trails in the game. But it's still good on the actual asphalt as well. Unlike the street spec, it actually maintains better, seems to be, grip to the asphalt. Like, it don't fly off as much. Maybe because it's not as fast. Maybe that's the reason for it. But it just seems to keep itself on the road better. So for that reason, most of the exploration that I did on the whole game map, I did it in the dirt spec, because it was easier for me to drive it around, and then it was more enjoyable in that way. I also, of course, completed using this spec all the missions that are available in the game for the dirt spec in terms of story mode. So let's talk about the stats for this spec. It's 548 horsepower. It got 781 Newton meters for torque. It weighs 1,484. And then in-game stats for acceleration is 5,402. Speed is at 3,118. Grip is 2,281. And braking at 6,164. Again, in-game stats, what does it all mean? Well, I don't know exactly. The best thing to do is kind of go in onto the road and to show you exactly how the car performs. And so we're just going to go ahead and do that exactly. So again, we have a pretty good mission for this to do so, and this mission is right here. And like I said, I completed all the story-based missions for the dirt spec on this spec, and I was pretty able to do it. Not that it wasn't that difficult, and was not really frustrating, but when you go into some other missions on it, you're gonna have problems, and the problems are gonna be again related to the fact that this is a Camaro and it has problems with turning. Right, so here we're gonna be racing 7 other opponents on the dirt, and I'm pretty much gonna be able to show you straight away all the problems that I have when this kind of races here with the Camaro. We're just gonna go ahead, speed up here a bit, and not the best start at all, I would say. There we go, and we go ahead, and we're gonna try to catch up now. Hopefully we can. So we go up one, and now I have to really drop down to make this turn. Otherwise, I'll be flying off here on the turns. As you can see, I am doing more of a drifting here on these turns, and this is what's frustrating, because like it was a bad start here I had, I would say, but yeah, again, quite a big of a drift here. But now I'm getting past, and I have a hard time passing my opponents, because as soon as I go into the turn, I do feel that I have to brake. I do have to feel that I need to lower down the gears, and which means that I'm just never able to pass my opponents, because you know, here they kind of help the fact that I use the opponent as a brake rather than just kind of dropping my own speed. But it's always very difficult kind of get to go ahead and gain up on the opponents, because they're just kind of racing away. But I'm just fearful that I'm just going to drift off this track. That's kind of the constant problem here with this spec, and with generally with the Camaro itself. And as much as I was able to do the story-based dirt missions, when it comes outside of it, begins to be a problem, and becomes a frustrating problem, because no matter what I do, it seems to be I just cannot catch up, really. Like I'm really trying to, but I'm just constantly, you can see how wide the angles of the turns become, because I'm just unable to really stick to the surface here. Constantly have to brake, in order to make these turns. Right? And that's kind of what's going to be the theme here. Like eventually somebody behind me is going to also catch up now, because again, I need to do so much more braking in order to control how far I drift, that eventually I will get past. Right there, you can hear that another person is passing me, and the only reason I think we managed to not get past is because the AI driver is kind of did something stupid. But there you go, and that's gonna be the problem. If I hit something like a straight around here, that's not, you know, I don't know what happened there at all. That's a game bug. Usually the game has quite a few stupid bugs, but yeah. So if I hit something like a straightaway, I can recover pretty well, but you know, get some ground ahead of the opponents. But then again, as soon as turns come in, again will be suffering here, and that's kind of the problem. All right, so let's slow down. I'm not gonna complete this mission again. It's, you know, don't have the time for this. Let's slow down and go ahead and go back and see another spec. So first of all, I'm gonna abort this. And we're going to go back to the garage here. And we're gonna get to see how the dirt specs returns to the garage right now. Alright, so here it is, and here we are. So let's move to the next spec here that we have available. And the next spec that's available to us is... Nope, wrong one. And it's a performance spec. There it is. Alright. So the performance spec, this is how it looks like. Again, visually it's, you know, it's our choice, but let's get out of the street and let me show you there how it looks on the street. And I think the weather's getting worse, or it's getting darker. Either way, hopefully we can get through here before the rain comes or it gets too dark. So here it is, performance spec. So performance spec is actually an upgrade more of a street spec, in a way that this is a car that is meant to be driven for races. It feels like that's what it is for, and it really does so very well. Like, it's not a car that you want to have to drive on the grass, on the dirt, because it's not gonna do that well there. But to get it on the grass, on the dirt, you really have to try, because it really nicely sits on the road. It really sticks to the road really well. So let's talk about the stats for this car. It's 764 horsepower, It's 1077 Newton meters in torque. It weighs 1395 kilograms, and the in-game stats for acceleration is 7042, speed 5237, grip 3827, and braking 7745. So overall, I would say this was a spec that I really enjoy driving in the cities. Whenever I need to get somewhere in the cities, I quite often would have picked up the performance spec because it's really good. It has, unlike the dirt spec, which has only 5 gears, this one has 6, so it's faster than the dirt spec, so it's easier to get quickly inside the cities between one point and to another. No problems there. Really enjoyable the car to to drive around. And like I said, it just sits on the road. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that, and the best thing to do so is to jump into admission here. That will take advantage of it. And as usual, this is not going to be the mission that I'm going to try to complete because it's a bit too long. There's no point to that, but I will be just doing this just to show off exactly what the car is capable of, how well it can sit on the road. So here we are, it's a bit of a foggy day here in terms of weather, but this is what we get, and we are racing 7 other opponents here. So let's get this going, and here we are. All right, so let me show you how well this car sits on the road. Gonna speed up now, get past the opponents, and here we are. First turn. Not big of a turn, but we sit well into it. Another turn, I'm just gonna brake just a bit, and you can see I just do it perfectly. No issues, no problems. Just easily gliding in through. And now on the straight, this is the Camaro, right? So it's showing off exactly how well it can just pick up speed right there. I'm gonna play it a bit safe here because of the fact that it's a bit difficult area to drive through. And I think thanks to the opponent, I'm kind of skewed off a bit to the side and lost some of the speed, but we're gonna gain it back again on the straight here. We're doing really well. I'm gonna go ahead, drop down gears and brake a bit and make the turn. There you go. No issues again. Very well. We sit on the road. No problems at all. Like the car, this spec really likes to sit on the road. Again, another turn coming up. I'm gonna lift off and gonna make the turn. That's it. Now, nothing special, nothing really needed to be done. Sometimes I can even power through the full throttle through the turns, like here. Okay, I'm doing that. No problems again. Another full throttle through the turn. There you go. The car just sits on the road. And if I do fly off a bit, as you can see, I can recover pretty well. Like I'm gonna go ahead and here it is. We got onto the grass, onto the dirt. Yep, we lost a bit, but we are recovering, and here we back on. Again, dirt or grass don't matter too much to this car. We can easily recover, and we can easily keep on going forward. And another straightaway, and again we're gonna pick up a lot of speed. It's really easily, because once again this is a Camaro. Its performance spec with the 6 gears that it has is just drives forward, no problems. Oh no, I should have given it a bit more brake, but there you go. And I didn't do that, so but I can recover here again, and we keep on going. And that's kind of a weird thing that you need to kind of see about this performance spec. That's why I like it. That's why it does its job really well in terms of allowing me. If there was no traffic here on the road, I think I would be performing much better in this race. The traffic in the crew is the biggest bane of my existence. All right, that and some of the bad specs of the cars that we have here. So all right, so. Like I said, we're not going to go ahead and kind of try to complete this race. There's no point to it because trying to catch up some of the cars there in the front. But let's actually drop down in terms of speed. and let's move on to the next spec. Alright, to move on to the next spec, we have to come back to the garage here, and let's go ahead. And now we're gonna get to see the performance spec coming back. Here it is. So let's move on to the next spec that's available to us, and it's called RAID. This is how it looks like. Well, again, usually I chose this for how it to look like. So let's get out onto the street. You'll see how it would be looking there. Alright, we're gonna fix the camera first because I don't know why it keeps bugging out. There you go. So this is the RAID spec. This spec is completely meant to be going off-road, so it's not meant to go on the asphalt. It still does, so it does really well on the asphalt, but it's supposed to be going off-road, not on the dirt trail, but just completely off-road. And it doesn't do so well there, sadly. It has all the problems of a Camaro. It will drift left, right, whatever, as you're driving, and it's extremely frustrating. Doing missions, the story missions in this spec was extremely frustrating. I did not like it at all. I'm not sure why people would want to have a rear-wheel drive car on off-road, but you know, some people maybe like that. It's fine, whatever. But you know what? Let's talk stats for this car. So it's got 502 horsepower. It got 692 Newton meters in torque, and it weighs 1,657. In terms of in-game stats, acceleration-wise, it's at 4,476. Speed is 2,128. Grip is 2,088, and braking is 6,237. So, what does all this in-game stats mean? Well, as usual, it's hard to say what they mean, except if you put it on the road and actually see how it will perform there. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put it on the road. To do that again, we have a pretty good mission to show it off, and maybe we're going to get lucky, and I might be able to actually finish off the mission because it's a very short mission. But at the same time, we might just get really unlucky and just fly off to the left or the right, because that's what happens with this car, sadly. It does not like to stick to the road, to the ground quite often. And while I understand that I can say again, I can go slower, I can brake more when I'm driving this car. Yes, but this is a racing game, and I cannot completely do this all the time. I cannot just go slower, right? Example is right now there on top left, I got a timer going, so I need to make it to the next checkpoint before the timer runs out, or I will lose this mission. So therefore I will be doing the pedal to the metal here in order to be able to complete this mission. Actually, by the way, I will need to be doing that throughout the whole mission, because there's no other way, I think, to complete this mission. And if I do drift off somewhere and I cannot really recover that well, then I'm gonna have problems. And recovering that well is a problem with this car. Quite often on the story missions, if I just drifted off, usually it was completely off any trail of whatever, wherever I have to be going, and I just have to restart. So it was extremely frustrating to play this spec in the story-based missions. So far we're doing not that bad. It seems to be we are sticking really well to the ground for now. Well enough. So now if you see, I made it onto the road here. No issues will be. Actually gonna burn some NOS here to get myself a bit more time, so that I can make it to the next checkpoint, and from there on I can continue on. Maybe we'll be able to make it after that to another checkpoint. Now I'm choosing not to follow the blue line that the game suggests, because pathfinding in the crew for the RAID spec is extremely horrible. What I mean by that is that quite often it will just kind of tell you, oh, you can go here, but then you try to, and it's like, oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of rocks here, and you're gonna be just kind of flying left, right, center, whatever, trying to drive here. So so that's why I kind of choose my own path here. That I driven this thing a few times for the practice runs, just to be able to show it off, and so I know exactly where to go better than the blue line tells me, pretty much. So let's keep on going. We are so far not doing that badly. Maybe I'll be able even to finish this, this race on time even. So far I haven't heard the distinct beeping of the fact that I'm completely running out of time, which is usually happens when I'm driving with this spec. It's usually always on the last minute nail biter situation because, like I said, it's just sticking to the surface with this one is very, very difficult. One thing is that we are in the forest, so if I'm start drifting, the trees will help by keeping me straight because they just kind of gonna get in the way. And we're actually doing not that really bad at all. We're gonna finish this off right now really, really well. There it is. We are at the finish. Here we are. All right. So here it is the raid spec. It was not that painful, but sometimes you just drive this over the same area, same way, and you just complete garbage. Like you flying completely. Well. Here, we got lucky. Alright, so let's move on from here. Let's move on to the final spec that we have of the 5 standard specs available in this game. And to do so, we are going to go ahead and go back to the garage again. And we're going to get to see the raid spec coming back into the garage. There we are. And let's move on to the final spec, which is called the circuit spec. Here it is. This is the circuit spec. Again, visually, this is how I chose for it to look like. But let's look at it on the street. How it's gonna, and then we're gonna talk about how it's gonna perform on the street. Seems to be, the evening is starting. We're getting this kind of a nice little light. Hopefully, it will add the look of the car. And we're going to need to fix here the camera. Alright, so here we are. We are in the circuit spec, and the circuit spec is specifically meant to drive races on the circuit track, right? However, it's also pretty good on the pavement, any pavement that you have. So driving it through long distances is something that I did. When I need to go somewhere for long distance, I would just go ahead and drive it there through pretty much because it's very, very fast. It got 7 gears. The only spec that has that for the Camaro. Now, you don't want to have the spec on grass or dirt because, well, it doesn't like this kind of surfaces at all. So it's something that you want to avoid, but getting it on the grass and the dirt as with the performance spec is very difficult because it just sits really, 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 really well on the road. Like it's I just like how well it sits there. So let's talk about stats for this one, right? So it has 778 horsepower. It's got 1050 in Newton meters for torque. It weighs 1,221 kilograms, and in-game stats for acceleration are 7,644, speed 6,113, grip 5,081, and braking is 8,298. So when it comes to all the stats, it's I would say it's the best spec of them all here in terms of stats, and it really does perform that well on this road. And let's do that. Let's actually demonstrate how well it will go ahead onto the road. So now, in order to do this, I will need to kind of do something else. I cannot do missions because there's no really good missions available for this spec in terms of well, it's actually no good missions available in the Midwest section of the map where we are right now. So that's why I'm not going to be showing the map. There are some good missions actually in the other sections of the map, but we're gonna stick to this, and I'm just going ahead and go fast travel to here. This is going to be bronze crate. I'm choosing the bronze crate here because usually you don't need to drive too long to complete this bronze crate missions, but it will be chased against the cops, and it will be good enough for us to show you how well the car performs on the road. So let's go ahead, and I can see from the very beginning we are picking up speed really well. This is a Camaro. We're going on the straight and it's no problems here picking up speed. Here we are, we're already on the 6th gear, right? Very well down, very quickly going. And now we're coming up to the turn, and I'm just dropping a few gears and I'm making the turn. No issues again. We're easily down the turn. The car sits on the road, and we're coming up again. There's gonna be another turn here, as long as the cop cars don't interfere with us, we are able to do the turn. And now we're not even on the best paved surface here that available to us, but the car will still perform. Really, no problems at all. Again, really enjoyable to drive this car. Let's get rid of the cops because they are extremely annoying here, and they're gonna be interfering with us driving and taking turns because they're gonna try to run us off the road. And if I do actually go a bit on the grass, on the dirt, the car will still be able to get enough purchase with the ground and get enough grip with it to be able to pull it off. And so here we are again. I'm gonna drop down a gear, make another turn. Beautiful. Now, no problems, nothing whatsoever again. It's except when the cops are interfering with us. Right here, it is. You know, we had a bit of interference from the cops, and now they're trying to ram us off the road. So that's not a very enjoyable situation. But here we are, and I'm just gonna go ahead back onto the road from the grass. As I said, it's the car can perform really well on the grass and on the road. And we are going again, no problems, going straight through, picking up speed. Beautiful, really enjoyable spec to drive here. I always enjoyed driving this one because how well it just maneuvers, how well it picks up speed. Completing missions in it is just very much enjoyable, and there you go. That's it, mission's done. Because the crate has been delivered. And you can see we did quite a lot of turns here, and despite of that, we still managed to stick to the ground. Overall, no problems, nothing to complain about. Like I said, very enjoyable spec. Alright, so let's get out of this right now mission, and let's conclude on this, what we have to say about this car. The best way to do so is I'm just going to go ahead and set up a waypoint to the garage, and just as I drive I will talk about the cars, the specs, and overall my conclusion, what we have here to say. So here we're back, and I'm gonna need to drop down a few gears to make a turn back, and here we're going back again. And like I said, very well sits well on the road, the circuit spec, it's very much enjoyable. We're going to be going a bit of a longer distance, and that's why it's one of the better specs to use this for this right now, right? Alternatively, I guess I could have gone in a dirt spec. Like I said, it's dirt spec is enjoyable spec to drive just regularly, and even do the missions, the story-based missions. It's just does not perform, seems to be well in the other missions outside of the storyline, and here we got us ended up us here a bit on the ground. We're gonna go ahead and pick up this now challenge that we need to get away from the circle here as quick as possible. Might not be possible to do so because we are, we're not driving in a straight line, so it's not that easy to do so. I guess we didn't, get anything. That's too bad, but it's fine, right? I keep going into this here, turning a bit. So, but again, you can see. Well, that was not the best turn right there. But like I said, generally this is a very enjoyable spec. So is performance spec. I already said about what I have to say about the dirt spec in terms of that. It's not as enjoyable. It's I do have a bit of a problem. I should kick out the cursor from the screen. It's really annoying also. There. Right. So, with dirt spec, it's kind of frustrating the fact that I'm just not able to complete other missions outside the storyline. So, can't really say that I like it because of that, but can't really say I dislike it because in the end, it's, I'm still able to do things with it. And of course, I do really like the performance and the circuit specs here. It's very much enjoyable to drive them. And we're going to try to keep onto the road and onto the surfaces here. Even though it's not the best surface to drive on, I really, where did that crate mission take us to? Just kind of not sure even, what's going on here in terms of how many turns I'm doing. Right, and then of course, if I was driving this, that got in the way. So if I'm driving this in a street spec, this would have been a complete frustration, because the fact is that the street spec would have been, well, every turn I would be making, I would be fearing that the fact that I'd be flying off somewhere, drifting off like this, like I just had, right? Like I would be always fearful of that, because you know, there's so little grip it seems to be the street spec car has onto the ground. And then of course there's also the raid spec, which is just frustrating to do missions in it overall. Like, yeah, sure, I can drive it down the road, but that's all I got there. And nothing much more is available in terms of kind of what I can do with it. And when it comes to actually getting the missions done, like I said, the raid spec is just horrible. Alright, well, here we are, you know, I think that's you know, all there is to say about the Camaro and its specs. And well, there's two good specs, two bad ones, and one that I'm not so sure about is, well, it's kind of hard to say to like the car, right? There's no consistency, I feel, with the car. And make no mistake that this is not like a you know, condemnation of a real-life Camaro. I've never driven a real-life Camaro. Maybe all these problems are not there in the real life. This is, you know, they're here only in the game because for balance or for whatever reason they decided to make them problems for the car in the game. But when it comes to overall my feeling what I have about this car in the game, well, I'm indifferent to it. I cannot say I don't like it, but I can't say I like it either. I'm really indifferent to it. Alright, I wish, you know, it would have been a bit more consistency in terms of what the car and how it can perform here in the game. And of course, again, if I, you know, would have been able to kind of brake more often, drop gears more, of course I would have maybe better time with it. Or maybe like if I drive it long enough and so on, I will get, you know, the feeling for that with the most optimal way to brake, with the most optimal way to drop down gears, when and how. But here's the question: why? Why would I want to do this? Because there's no really point for me to do so, because in the end we are, you know, here in the game have other cars, and maybe I just rather drive some other cars which have more or better specs like that, more consistently good. Alright, well, I think that's it. What I have to say about this car. Let's just jump out of this road and back into the headquarters, and I'll go ahead repoint myself at the headquarters and go ahead back in. Well, there you go. So that's all for my conclusions about this car. If you like this video, please like it. If you didn't like it, don't like it, and please follow and subscribe.